Meta made a very specific choice in October 2021, and it changed how the world read its next decade. In October 2021, Mark Zuckerberg published a founder's letter describing the metaverse as the next chapter for the internet, and he said the company's name was now Meta. On October 28, 2021, Meta also announced the new brand at the Facebook Connect 2021 keynote and said the focus was bringing the metaverse to life through Reality Labs, which includes Horizon Worlds, Meta's social virtual reality platform, and the Quest headset line. A name change can look cosmetic, yet this one anchored a future platform bet into the company's identity, reporting, and expectations. That belief was already being formalized into structure. In the founder's letter, Zuckerberg argued the company's brand was tightly linked to one product and could not represent everything the company was doing, especially looking ahead. He also said Meta would make a fundamental change in reporting, splitting the business into two segments, one for the family of apps and one for future platforms. If this is useful, subscribe. Here is what we need to understand. Renaming the company around a future platform raises the cost of reversing course later. The decision is easy to state and hard to undo. In October 2021, the company changed its corporate name from Facebook to Meta, and it framed the rebrand around building the metaverse. In that same period, Zuckerberg tied the move to a reporting structure that separated the family of apps from the work on future platforms, which Meta later presented as the Family of Apps segment and the Reality Labs segment. Rather than keeping the Facebook corporate brand centered on its family of apps while treating virtual and augmented reality as a smaller product line, Meta chose to make the metaverse central to the company's name and framing. That made the bet visible to everyone, including users, employees, investors, and regulators. The reason it made sense at the time is that Meta wanted a clear path to the next platform cycle, not only an extension of the current one. Meta's own framing described the metaverse as a new chapter for the internet, and it reorganized reporting to show a clean separation between the core apps and the future platform's work. That reporting shift did two jobs at once. It made long-horizon investment legible, and it created a container for spending that would be harder to defend if it were blended into the core business. Reality Labs became the vehicle for that story. In Meta's fiscal 2024 results release, the company defined Reality Labs as covering virtual, augmented, and mixed reality-related consumer hardware, software, and content. That definition signals platform building, not a single device, and it gave the rebrand a concrete internal counterpart. We can also see the mechanics of accountability because Meta's fiscal 2022 results presentation shows two segments: Family of Apps and Reality Labs, with Reality Labs reported separately. Once those numbers are a standing line item, the metaverse bet stops being a slogan and becomes a recurring set of quarterly outcomes. Early Reality Labs results supported the idea that a real business line could be built, even if it started small. In Meta's fiscal 2022 results presentation, Reality Labs revenue was reported as $2,274 million for fiscal 2021 and $2,159 million for fiscal 2022. Those figures show real sales from Meta Quest headsets and virtual reality content, and they help explain why a long build could look rational from the inside. At the same time, those revenue levels highlight a scale gap, which meant the investment case depended on patience and continued belief. This is the trade-off we see. The rebrand encouraged patience for a long bet, and it also guaranteed constant attention to the gap between costs and revenue. Costs are where the story turned. Meta's fiscal 2022 results presentation reported Reality Labs income, meaning operating profit or loss from operations, as a loss of $10,193 million in fiscal 2021 and a loss of $13,717 million in fiscal 2022. Operating loss is what happens when operating costs exceed operating revenue, and the key detail is that the losses widened year over year. In Meta's 2022 Form 10-K, the company said Reality Labs' loss from operations in 2022 increased by $3.52 billion, or 35%, compared to 2021. The same filing attributed the increase mainly to higher payroll-related expenses and research and development expenses, which meant the spending was tied to building capacity for Horizon Worlds and Quest hardware development, not one-off items that disappear quickly. As the losses widened, the rebrand made them harder to treat as background noise. Reality Labs stayed a named segment, and the numbers grew again. In Meta's fiscal 2024 results release, Reality Labs' revenue was $1.9 billion for fiscal 2023 and $2.1 billion for fiscal 2024, which shows revenue moving within a narrow range around $2 billion. Over those same 2 years, operating losses were reported as $16.1 billion in fiscal 2023 and $17.7 billion in fiscal 2024, which shows the loss expanding without a matching revenue step-up. In the fourth quarter of 2024 alone, Meta reported a Reality Labs operating loss of $4.9 billion. A company named Meta, telling the world it is building the metaverse, was now reporting multi-billion-dollar quarterly losses in the segment tied to that mission. Mid-year filings in 2024 show the same pattern in a tighter window. In Meta's Form 10-Q for the quarter, ended June 30, 2024, Reality Labs' revenue was $353 million for the 3 months ended June 30, 2024, compared with $276 million for the 3 months ended June 30, 2023. Over that same period, Reality Labs' operating loss was $4.5 billion for the 3 months ended June 30, 2024, compared with $3.7 billion for the 3 months ended June 30, 2023. The same filing reported an operating loss of $8.3 billion for the 6 months ended June 30, 2024, compared with $7.7 billion for the 6 months ended June 30, 2023. Revenue moved, but losses moved more, and the segment structure ensured the comparison repeated. Meta also showed it was trying to manage costs at the company level. In the 2022 Form 10-K, Meta said total restructuring charges were $4.61 billion in 2022 and referenced a layoff of approximately 11,000 employees as part of cost management initiatives. That context matters because it frames Reality Labs inside broader cost controls, not a period of unlimited spending without restraint. Yet the Reality Labs losses still expanded after that, which suggests the platform build carried momentum that did not reset quickly. When a business reorganizes around a long-horizon platform, the budget often behaves unlike a short-term project. By 2025, the slow damage shifted from pure optics to organizational moves. In May 2025, the San Francisco Chronicle reported that Meta laid off over 100 employees from Reality Labs, including teams within Oculus Studios and the virtual reality fitness app Supernatural. The same report said the layoffs occurred amid continued Reality Labs losses and restructuring efforts. In January 2025, Business Insider reported that Meta began restructuring Reality Labs to align it more closely with the main business, describing it as reversing parts of the major 2021 reorganization. That sequence matters. A rebrand and reorganization in 2021, widening segment losses through 2024, then steps to bring the segment closer to the core business in 2025. Cumulative losses arrive when they become the headline rather than a single year's result. Business Insider's January 2025 reporting said, Reality Labs had accrued over $58 billion in losses since 2020, and Business Insider's February 2026 reporting said Reality Labs had incurred over $70 billion in losses since 2020. In February 2026, Business Insider also reported that Meta's Chief Technology Officer Andrew Bosworth discussed cutbacks and shelved projects within Reality Labs and pointed to slower than expected industry growth. At that stage, the company was publicly explaining why projects were being shelved after years of visible segment losses. Meanwhile, Meta found success pivoting to Ray-Ban Meta smart glasses, which tripled sales year over year, showing the hardware strategy was not entirely wrong, just differently focused than the original virtual reality vision. Even Meta's own guidance shows a tension between discipline and commitment. In Meta's fiscal 2024 results release, the company stated employee compensation was expected to be a major expense driver in 2025, as Meta added technical talent in priority areas that include Reality Labs. That is a direct signal that Reality Labs remained a priority area, even as outside reporting emphasized mounting losses and cutbacks. Meta is now redirecting billions of dollars toward AI infrastructure and its Llama AI models, competing with Apple Vision Pro in mixed reality while positioning against rivals like Roblox in virtual social platforms. The lesson is grounded in what happened, not in hindsight judgment. In October 2021, Meta tied its corporate identity to the metaverse and paired that with a reporting structure that separated the family of apps from the future platform work that became Reality Labs. From fiscal 2021 through fiscal 2024, Meta reported Reality Labs revenue in the low billions and operating losses that widened from $10,193 million to $17,729 million, with an operating loss of $4,967 million in the fourth quarter of 2024. By 2025 and 2026, outside reporting described reorganizations pulling Reality Labs closer to the main business, plus cutbacks and shelved projects, alongside cumulative loss figures cited as over $70 billion since 2020. When you rename the company around a future platform, you also lock that bet into expectations, oversight, and operating discipline. For more decisions like this, subscribe. The decision was logical, the consequences were not.